Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me for another one-man review. Today I'm going to take a look at the first two volumes of To Your Eternity, which Menachem at Escape Pod Comics sent to me when he sent me the big care package of damaged books. Basically, I paid for the one book that I bought and shipping, and he threw in all of these other books for free because they have this one. This one's a little beat up. This one has the slightest damage to it. So thank you so much, Menachem, for all of the cool books. And I'm going to do a few videos of the ones that really stood out to me. To Your Eternity stood out really big. This is a book that a number of my students have told me about because I teach art. A lot of the students that I have love comics, and at this day and age, that usually translates to manga for good reasons. Um, and this is something I've definitely heard about. I'm pretty sure I went and looked it up online and saw this opening chapter and made some assumptions about the book that weren't fair and said, it looks all right, it looks good, but nothing that I need to be running to get a hold of. I was wrong. I was totally wrong. It's a fantastic book that really defies expectations. And so me building some expectations based on the first chapter was like, I can't blame myself for it. That's kind of an intentional setup in the book, but also got a totally wrong idea about what the book was, and also like how good the art was. The first chapter starts out sparse in the art, and I didn't see how good the artist actually was. And even having this as the cover kind of intentionally missells what the book is about. I don't want to give away too much because I think all of the shifts in story are what make the reading experience so worth it. So I don't want to give too many spoilers. But it starts out with, in the beginning it was an orb, but it was more than an orb. It could replicate any form. I decided to cast the orb unto the earth and observe the results. So this is obviously the main character. And when I'm putting on my Amazon list the rest of the volumes of this, I think there's 18 with 19 coming out soon, and God knows how many more. This is obviously the main character, and I think there's massive time shifts coming up, but I could be wrong. But the artist and writer Yoshitoki Oima is so good at writing characters that you care about, so good at making you care about the characters, you really kind of forget that this orb thing is the main character, even though it's there all along, and you get so invested in the characters that you're being introduced to that you really get a unsteady sense of where the story's going and what it's about and who's really the main characters. It starts out in the snow, and so you get sparser imagery, and I do think that this first chapter seemed familiar to me, like maybe I've read this before, or I at least glanced at it, and I think that gave me a false sense of the art. Like, it's good art, but it's a little, they're taking a lot of shortcuts, basically, was my sense of the series. It's like a nice little fantasy thing, but they could be going harder on the art. That also shifts. I'm trying not to give spoilers here, but you get later in the book. Let me see if I can find. Okay, you get later in the book and you shift to a village, and then you see, oh wow, this artist really can go crazy in the background. It's just wisely choosing not to. So even that shift for me in the art was like, man, I really just did not give this thing enough consideration. It really subverted my expectations about what it is on every level. So it's a really beautiful mix of like the moments like this, which to me look like a Moebius drawing, a mix between the kind of cute Miyazaki hopeful stuff and then Moebius. And the backgrounds especially remind me of Moebius. So if you like Moebius and you like Miyazaki and you like Otomo and you want someone who's mixing them all together, go get To Your Eternity. It's a really good balance of all of those things, combined with really good character writing. There's and then the ability to go between like the action scenes, the kind of down to home, like just conversational around the dinner table scenes, and then some really gruesome body horror type of stuff with this corpse knitting itself back together. You're constantly being jerked all over the place, but masterfully done. And then absolutely gorgeous scenery here, beautiful images. This is where you really see the Moebius influence with that little Moebius ticky mark all over the place. Really impressed also that within that consistent line approach, the artist is able to get a lot of different textures out of everything. Normally, when you use one type of mark over and over, you even out the textures because the mark reads as a texture. But they're able to use that little ticky mark to represent a wide variety of textures. So that was also really impressive to me. Great character acting in the pieces. And yeah, the super cool action scenes, really cool animals. This big giant bear crashing through everything, fighting a wolf. It's got everything. Just amazing backgrounds. So that's volume 1. Then volume 2, you get another shift into out of the village. Let's see if I can find it, into the city. And this right here, I know it's not going to come across on camera, but such a good, like, I'm on a cliff looking down on a city with like a tone put over, scratched out for the lights. So good. And then as you come into the city, the artist flexes their background muscles even more and really starts to go hard with, yeah, like, I can draw, I just don't always need to. Don't always need to put all those backgrounds in there. And this brings with it further shifts in who the main character is, further, like, you know, abuses done to characters that you would think are safe. Just all kinds of, yeah, really cool, like, so cool art. That bear rampaging through the town. And just a lot of narrative surprises. Now we're shifting into, like, being on a boat, going somewhere else, and looking, and then a new kind of villain coming in. So this world just slowly unravels itself in a way that's super compelling, completely unpredictable, which is so rare for fantasy work. It always seems so predictable. This is completely unpredictable stuff. And from when I went and put the the backgrounds and stuff are so good. When I put the further volumes on my Amazon list, some of the covers suggested to me that this goes up into modern times and maybe even will at some point become a futuristic sci-fi. So I don't know. This is definitely strong on my list of series I have to complete and then start keeping up with. I don't know how long it has run or will run for, but I get it. I was wrong. All my students are right. I'm going to start listening to them more because it's a fantastic book. And then here is, I think this is only the second series, or at least the second one to be translated by Yoshitoki Oima. But the first, like, big break, I think, for the artist was this book, A Silent Voice. Looks like a totally different art style. I don't know. I'll have to check it out. I made bad assumptions about this one. But this seems more like a slice of life thing about a girl who's deaf, trying to, like, have a, you know, high school relationship, a crush or something, and then it says they meet up later. So I'm so impressed by the writing in To Your Eternity, that even though it's a totally different genre, the ability to write character and make me care about the characters is so good that this also sounds like a really good book. So I hope to get that eventually. And it says Eisner Award nominee and New York Times best-selling manga, so really highly celebrated. And I cannot recommend this artist and this book enough. Thanks for joining along. Take it away, Jack.
You want to see all these books? Smash that